This week, you're going to be searching for sources to support the research of your topic that you had approved through the Google form. If you have not done that yet and heard from me in Google Classroom, then you definitely need to make sure that gets done first. There are a fair amount of you I have not heard from. So I'll be sending you a message through Google Classroom to remind you to do that. But those of you who are ready to move on need to go ahead and take advantage of these slower days in the JCPS schedule so that you may move forward in your research. We are coming in on the home stretch here in the semester, and this last 5 weeks or so is going to be really focused on research, documenting sources properly, setting up an academic argument. It's the most useful and common thing that you're going to be doing in college writing, period. So it's the most helpful. But in that way, I need to step it out in very small chunks so that I can make sure you're on the right track and you can make adjustments as needed when you move along through the process so that we don't get to the end and you earn, half your credit because there are all these small mistakes that could have been caught along the way. So first, you're going to look for some sources, but you have to think about what are you even looking for and how are you going to look? Where are you going to look? This is not an open call for you to Google things. That's not what academic research looks like. So I want to be sure that you understand the resources you have available to you and the process you should use to do this work. Then you're going to turn in just one annotated source and on the discussion board so that I can review your progress and see where you're headed before you try and put together a full annotated bibliography next week. So to start, you want to look at the chapter 18, expert. Oh my goodness, I can't talk today. Chapter 18 excerpt. There you go, for finding sources. And I've scanned a few pages for you here for you to read and take notes on. This is going to teach you how you look for sources, what types of things you search, and resources available to you. Then you want to look at how to write research questions. This is just a website. When you go to it, you will see that it explains to you what is a research question. You should have submitted at least one in your Google form, but if you just put that into a search engine, the whole question, you're not always going to find what you're looking for. And it also explains sort of the why behind this, right? You've already done this part, which is you should have already done the interesting general topic. You've done that because I have asked you to do that. So the rest of these steps are important for you to consider, and they echo what is in the textbook excerpt. Then you are going to start searching, and I've given you some options here to start with. For your eventual argument essay, you're going to need some background or contextual information on your topic, so that might be a great one to start with, and Britannica is an excellent source for that. Also, some of these, if it's a health-related topic, the NIH is a really good one. You might try using Google Scholar instead of just regular Google. And then there are some other websites here. Now, I will tell you that this one at the bottom here takes you to the JCTC library. So I'm going to show you what that looks like. You have a lot of resources available to you as a student of JCTC, just like you do as a student of JCPS. So if you want to look at the library, you can search here. You can search in the databases if you know one that you want to look in. I personally like just starting with the libraries and then going to the databases. And you may not even be familiar with this, but you might, it just depends. And then on the right, just choose one of the popular ones. So a lot of these will look familiar if you have done a research exploration with your librarian and JCPS, but some of you, this might be brand new. I would just stick with the popular databases. The nice thing about using these in Google Scholar is they give you the citation in MLA format, so that's really nice. If you need a librarian, they do chat with you. So that's really awesome. You might have to be logged in as your JCTC login, but they will talk with you. I also know for a fact that your librarians and JCPS are ready and willing to help you work on this, and I'll actually send them an email so they're prepared that you might be reaching out to them. This is a great time to utilize their expertise. You don't have to do this on your own. You have two teachers, you have probably at least two librarians, a librarian and a library assistant, and you have the librarian at JCTC to help you. So don't feel like you have to do this by yourself when you have all these people to help you. I will show you real quickly though, if you're going to go to like CQ Researcher, for example, to look for your topic, it's going to prompt you to log in with your JCTC account. So remember that you have to do that. You have to be under your account in order to view this, because this is only a service available to students. The same thing is true for your JCPS resources. You'd have to be logged in as your JCPS login to research using the databases on your school's library website. But for example, if I'm going to search for something like, my topic is micro labeling, then there's nothing here because that's a relatively new thing in the LGBTQ plus community. So instead, I might look at LGBTQ plus, and again, what's happening? It's not here. Well, that doesn't mean that there's nothing here to find. It just means that this particular database may not be the best one. So I'm going to have to find the right search terms, and this is the part that can drive you insane. So you might want to think about leaving out descriptors. Like, did you notice that I only put a topic in here? If I put in the word abortion, for example, I'm going to get stuff on both there's more than two, thoughts, perspectives, information about this topic. Like, look, abortion controversies. Great choice because I'm going to see multiple viewpoints. Okay. And so if I want this one, I'm going to hit the Cite Now button, and it's going to give me the option to choose the MLA citation, which is what you need. The only thing you'll have to do is change the font, but we can deal with that next week, okay? That's really helpful. If you get really into it, you can save the style to a document that you're working on, which is excellent, and you can export it to your word processor. Yours will have different if you're not on a Mac. The thing that you don't want to do is you don't really want to put in things like pro-abortion or anti-abortion, because then you're only going to get things that are tailored to one side. And part of researching is looking at multiple perspectives. So you have to be very careful not to put leading adjectives in your search unless that's really what you want. So make sure it's a generic search term so that you can get lots of things. It's generic in one sense, but it has to be specific in another, or you're going to get millions of hits and you don't have time to look through that. I would also encourage you to view the PDF and download it so that you have this article for later. Just keep a file on your Google folder or on your computer so that you can access these files later when you're writing your actual essay. At the very least, you're going to want to have the place that you found it. So the link, that's part of the citation anyway, right here. But you want to be able to get back to it. Okay. So remember that. Don't waste your time in forgetting where you got this stuff in case you want to use it later. So that's how you might want to use the databases. And then you can certainly use any of the other sites that I've given you, but not all of them give you the citation. Britannica does and Google Scholar does. So just keep that in mind if you're not wanting to delve into doing MLA citations on your own. But if you need to, so say you go to New York Times and you find an awesome article, then you're going to have to look at this MLA citation guide and figure out how you properly cite an article on an online newspaper. This guide is very comprehensive. It has pretty much everything you can think of that you need to cite and how to do it. So make sure you look at it. I'm going to refer you back to it if you make mistakes. So just do that. Do it initially, and then we won't have this problem. So for your post this week, you are only going to find one source and you're going to annotate it. And what does that even mean? So when you think of annotation, you generally think of like read a passage, write some notes, because it actually has the word note in it, right? And so on this, you're going to use your approved topic after you read these things and go through the resources that are in Unit 3, and you're going to write a 100 to 100 word annotation. And I need you to stick to that word count. So make sure that you count the words, not including the citation, just the part that you write. Your original words is all you're counting. You can use the word count function on your computer to do that. You don't need to count the words manually. So I've suggested here what you might do to write that annotation here. Okay, it can have personal language in it. That's fine, because you are going to be talking about how it relates to your topic. You don't have to put personal language, but you could. So you want to add this so that you can get some feedback on it from me before you move into a full annotated bibliography, which is the next step. So that's next week. But I'm telling you all this so that if you have extra time, you can go through and get started on this so that you're ahead. Many of you have just been scrambling to be even on time or late. You need to just get ahead a little bit when you have a little bit of time. So I'm giving you this so that you can do that if you want to and you have it available. So here's a sample student bibliography. When you look at this, you'll see what it's going to look like next week. So if you want to know what one looks like for this week, you're going to look for just one of these entries is what you need to have on your discussion board this week. This page, this example, is for the whole annotated bibliography, which comes next week. So, for example, a couple of things. Notice that this is properly cited. It has a hanging indentation, which I'll tell you about next week again. And then it's all lined up here. This is a summary with, I'm not saying it's perfect. Like I see a couple grammar things, but I'm not worried about that, okay? I am looking for you to summarize it a little bit in your own words and then talk about why this is important to your topic. Then a word count at the bottom lets me know that you have taken the time to note that you have gone between 100 and 150 words, okay? So again, not perfect. There's nothing, there's always something to look at that you could improve, but this shows you what it looks like, okay? So you know where you're headed. So that's what you're going to be working on this week, and you need to turn that in by Friday. Just one source, properly documented, and one annotation. It would also be nice if you would post in there your topic so that I remember just quickly I can see what it is you're working on. Like, for example, this person is looking at the prison system. So that's what you're doing this week. Look for your feedback, and if you have not submitted your topic, you need to do that first.